Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hey folks, I'm Mike, and I'm here for another Q&A. I put out a thread on the Slack channel for Pen Addict. If you're not on the Pen Addict Slack channel, go check out the Pen Addict's Slack channel. It is very cool. And that thread kind of blew up, and so I have a million questions, so I never went to Instagram or any of the others. But if you have a question that you'd like to see answered in a Q&A video later on, put it in the comments down below this, and I will keep track of those, and I will answer them in another one. All right, so I have a ton of questions here, and they range from serious pen and ink questions to like personal questions about me and stuff to questions that are blatantly silly and meant to be. And so I'm going to cover all those if I have time. So this can be either a very long video, a two-part video, or one in which I will talk very quickly, like Micro Machines, man. If you remember Micro Machines, you're more or less my age. All right. So, thoughts on the new Platinum Instagram inks. This comes from Chewbacca. What about their wetness, their colors, etc.? So I've only used two of these. I have one here. Well, actually, here's one that I have two examples of here and here. This is the Khaki Black. Khaki Black is an interesting color. I think it's kind of nutty. I've also got the Papier Plume Pecan down here as well. So Khaki Black is pretty good. It doesn't really change colors that much, and I was surprised by that. I thought it would darken up a whole lot, but it doesn't really. In fact, I tried to do a time-lapse video of it, and it just wasn't very interesting because it didn't change. It just sort of dried. So it comes out of the pen that color. On the other hand, Platinum Cassis Black, which is right here, I've just inked this one up not too long ago. You'll see this is linked the 23rd. Yeah, so yesterday I was playing with inks. And that one actually darkens up quite a bit. It turns from like a very pale color, very pale pink, into this sort of more rosy pink that you see here. So that one has some more change. Here's the thing about those, and that is that they are a little bit on the dry side. So as far as flow, a little bit dry. They don't feel bad or anything, just I wish there was a little bit more. So I might try them out in something more more free-flowing. I don't know, maybe I'll put it in a Pelican or something like that. They are Iron Gall inks, but the Pelican's all gold and stuff, so I think it'll be fine. I don't know, I might try it in something else. We'll see. But I'm not, they're fine. I think they're kind of cool. They're pretty new. I have all of the samples from Anderson Pens, so they'll be coming up on the blog probably this summer. Chewbacca also asks, would you rather have a TARDIS-themed fountain pen or a sonic screwdriver fountain pen? That's actually kind of easy for me. I love Doctor Who. This is a TARDIS that hangs on my wall right in front of my desk. I'm always checking out the TARDIS police call box, public call box. All right, so I'm going to go TARDIS, and also because I think that it will be not as crazy looking. I think some of these like themed pens do go a little bit overboard, and so I like the ones that are more subtle. I actually kind of like the Monograppa ones. I just did the Game of Thrones pen not too long ago for House Baratheon, and I think that one's subtle enough. It's got the clip is Baratheon, it's got a little thing on the finial, but the rest of it isn't crazy. I think a lot of pens go overboard, and I think any kind of sonic screwdriver pen would go way overboard, and I wouldn't want to use it. So TARDIS. I'm gonna go TARDIS. All right. Sergeant Stretch asks, "What are my thoughts on the new and improved resin Visconti Homo Sapiens?" I don't like it. So here's my caveats, however, before I go into why I'm not a big fan. I haven't touched it. I haven't seen one in real life, and I haven't used it. So if I touch it, see it, and use it, and I like it, I'll revisit this. But right now, the things to know about the new Visconti Homo Sapiens, I'll put pictures of them here. Well, here, so I don't block my face. Anyway, the original Visconti Homo Sapiens was made of friggin' lava, and that was cool. So they take like basaltic lava and they mash it up, and then they mix it with a resin. They make a pen out of it, and it's cool. It's a little bit hydroscopic. It's got a power filler system, which is pretty cool. It's like a cool version of the vac filling system. It's got this cool cambered system for the cap. It's very neat. It's got, what else makes that thing good? It's got a palladium Dream Touch nib, which is supposed to be very good. However, the resin version, they got rid of the lava, so it's just resin. They got rid of the power filler. I think it's a cartridge converter pen, which is fine, but, I mean, come on. You don't replace one with the other and then charge the same price. And what else did they get rid of? I feel like to get rid of something else. But anyway, so now what you have is a very expensive pen because they only lowered the price by like $100. So that makes it like $500. And you get basically a black resin pen with a palladium nib and that little cambered cap system. Had they left the Dream Touch filler on there, or not Dream Touch, the Power filler on there, I would have been more tempted. But as it is now, I think it seems way overpriced. But I haven't got my hands on one yet. Maybe I will in the next, I don't know, couple of months. I've got a Raleigh Pen Show coming up in a week and a half. Got and then DC after that. Surely at DC they'll have one if they're out, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm not impressed. I think it's weird. I don't get it. Written in Rice says, if you had to choose between only writing with Bics for the rest of your life or the Chaos Pen for the rest of your life, which would you choose and why? I originally thought this was kind of easy. I'm like, oh, well, obviously Chaos. But I started thinking about the Chaos Pen. Oh, if you don't know what a Chaos Pen is, here it is. That's Chaos. They also make a watch over here. Both of them are tragically hideous. The silver one for the Chaos isn't as horrible as the gold one. That one is just, oh, geez, it's a nightmare. I think I gotta go with Bic, even though they're not fountain pens. And look, this would have been easier before they sold Schaefer. It used to be the Bic owned Schaefer, while a couple of years ago they sold it off to AT Cross, and that's too bad. I think Bic also used to own or at least work with ST DuPont, but I'm not 100% sure. They don't have a fountain pen brand anymore, but they make some good ballpoints, I guess. Anyway, the Chaos Pen, I don't know. It's not good. Not good. Chewbacca, back to Chewbacca, asks, if you could custom order your ultimate fountain pen and cost was no object, what features would it have? Dude, I don't know. I need more time on that one. There are too many choices. I don't know. It's probably going to have, a body made of something cool, so either, I don't know, like an interesting macrolon, like a cool colored macrolon, or like an interesting color of ebonite. I think that'd be neat. Or, oh man, there were some pens made of G10, which is this cool stuff that you find on like the scales of knives, on where you handle knives. It's a great material. I would love to have a pen made of that. I think that'd be awesome. Nib, I don't know, probably. I don't know. I really like the titanium nib I used not too long ago, but a nib like a Pelican sort of nib, or I don't know, something good like that. I haven't really decided, but I'll think about that one and come back to it in another Q&A. Rescue Monkey says, hey, what's your Grail pen? What Grail pen are you most disappointed by? I don't really know what to say about Grail pens. I feel like the Grail pen ought to be one that is very difficult to find or something like that, or that you have to hunt for a long time, like the Grail, and it's going to be the best thing ever. I don't have a pen like that. I'm not really into vintage so much, and so the pens that I really like, I know how to get them. I mean, top of my list right now are Conids. I think those are totally badass. And also Kanalea's pens. Hugh and Carroll make beautiful pens, and I love them. But the price range is out of range. So if you just mean like what's an expensive pen you haven't bought yet, it would probably be one of those two. But other than that, I don't really know. I kind of know where to get stuff. Although there might be. I take it back. Here's one that I think is really awesome. Although I know how to get it, it's just crazy expensive. And that is that there's an Omos Paragon with the brown Arco and bronze hardware that I saw, and it is amazing. But it was also like $2,000, and I'm not dropping $2,000. No way on a pen. I can't do it. So which one am I most disappointed by? Back to the Homo Sapiens, actually. I kind of considered the Homo Sapiens. I really wanted the Bronze Age one a lot, and I kind of considered that one of my Grail-y type pens. Like, it would be kind of like, I'd hate to miss it. But ever since, I've gotten the feeling that I probably would have been disappointed had I gotten one. The QC on the nibs is historically awful for Visconti. I've heard nothing but horror stories. A couple people, I guess, have said that they've gotten those Palladium Dream Touch nibs that worked right out of the box. But for most people, they have to be adjusted and they got to be sent away, or it's just all kinds of crazy stuff goes on. And I don't want to deal with it, especially not for a pen that costs that much. I mean, they're almost $600, so nah. I think I would have been disappointed with that. Other pens that I've been disappointed in. Well, then actually, the next question is from Brittany Rice. She says, "What's the most disappointing pen you've ever purchased?" And I gotta say, I don't really have too many of those because I get to go to pen shows, and so it means that I have probably touched, tried out, used. I belong to a pen club here in the Triangle. And so I've probably used whatever pen it is I'm going to buy. I don't buy blind very often, and so I haven't really been disappointed in anything. The only things that kind of come to mind are my Sailor Pro Gear. When I first got that, I was kind of disappointed because it's smaller than I really thought it was going to be. I didn't like it for quite a while. The nib, it felt weird, and it was very, very stiff. I just didn't like it. But in the last year or so, I've really come around to that pen, and a Pro Gear is one of my favorite pens. I really dig it. But when I first got it, I was very disappointed. Okay, so WTF? Why not? Asks me, hey, what's the worst behaving ink I've ever used? These are getting these Q&As are always asked, what's the worst thing? Well, here's probably the worst one I've ever used is Private Reserve's Invincible Black. I'm going to talk later about Private Reserve again, but Invincible Black was nuts. They gave it out in these little tiny pots, just little bitty, cutest little ink bottles at the DC Fountain Pen Show, I don't know, 2-3 years ago. And it bled through everything. Fast dry inks generally will bleed through stuff just because the way you make things fast dry is either you make them evaporate or you make them soak in, and a lot of them soak in. And so Private Reserve Invincible Black bled through like 2 or 3 sheets of Rhodia when I did the review. If you look back through a bunch of reviews around that time, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, you'll see some of my reviews, because I didn't want to waste paper, because I'm also a little bit cheap. You'll see there's like a black smudge in some of them, and I'll be like, oh, it's Private Reserve, Invincible Black. Invincible Black is invincible, but it also bleeds through all of the things. The only other thing I've had really bleed through Rhodia was franklin-christoph had an ink years and years ago called Black Magic Black. And Black Magic was formulated to be a fast dry ink, and it was a very fast dry ink. However, it dried by soaking through everything, and nobody really liked it, and he stopped making it a long time ago. So that one was also really terrible in terms of behavior. Couple others. I mean, I've got some others, but they're not nearly as bad as those two. So we'll call it those two. Written in Rice asks, what's the best paper for bad inks? Obviously Rhodia for me. I love Rhodia paper a lot. I like it better than Clairefontaine. I like it better than pretty much everything. It's kind of my top of the line paper. I think Clairefontaine is a little bit too smooth. It doesn't, even with fountain pens, I don't think it gives it enough to, it just skates. I don't like the feeling. It feels out of control. I don't dig it. So yeah, Rhodia I think is the best. Tomoe River is also really good for bad behaving inks, but it also it's very thin most of the time. Although I have that Hippo Noto journal coming, and it's a thick Tomoe River, so I'm looking forward to that. But anyway, that stuff, Rhodia is the best, I think. I am Justin C. says, how do you deal with hard starts after short pauses in writing when the pen is already a wet writer with good flow? And my first response is, that's weird. If it's already a good wet writer and has good flow, but you're having hard starts, it sounds like the problem is the ink. I don't know what ink Justin C is using here, but it sounds like the ink is the culprit. You can get that with some pens that have, even if they have good flow and such, and even inks that have good flow, will sometimes dry up in the nib, or they get blocked. So if you have some of these shimmering inks, I've had some cases with shimmertastic inks and that sort of thing, where the ink will sort of form a little dam in the feed somewhere. Until you get that shaken loose, it just blocks it up and it gives you hard starts. But my guess is change the ink, because if the pen, like if the nib is already wet and it has good flow, the nib does, then the problem is the ink. That's the only other thing that can be the problem. So change your ink. This was asked by a couple of people, Justin C. and Feed, or Fede. I actually don't know how to pronounce that person's name. What's my favorite go-to pen and ink combination? I don't really have too many pens that have a specific ink that goes with them. Used to be my vanishing point would only be used with Rohr and Klingner Salix, because it was the only ink that made that pen not like sing and squeak. The vanishing point medium nib bugs me. It sings and squeaks. I don't like it. But one pen that I do keep inked up with the same ink pretty much all the time is this guy right here. This is a Bexley Phoenix, which is this cool demonstrator piston filler. Has this nice two-tone steel nib. There you go. Bexley's makes some really nice pens. Howard does a great job there. And this pen always has Sailor Kiwaguro in it, because it performs super well. And you might be worried about having a pigmented ink or nanoparticle ink in a clear demonstrator, but I've had this ink in here for a long time. I cleaned it out recently and put it on the shelf and didn't have anything in it for a while, and then I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that pen. I need to put ink in it. Put that ink in it again, and still love it. It's great. It's kind of the perfect pen for, I don't know, if you're writing postcards, or if you're writing addresses on things, or if you want it to be waterproof, because the Sailor ink is waterproof to the nth degree, and it flows beautifully in this pen, and I love it. So that's probably one of my go-tos. The rest of my pens don't have a specific ink that they're dedicated to. They just don't. Second part of the question is, ink I use for new pens. I always, for a new pen that if it gives me any trouble, I always use Aurora Black because Aurora Black will flow in anything. If the pen is not garbage, that ink will work. So I use that. Or a combination that I go back to again and again. Pen that I use for new inks. I don't have a specific pen that I use for new inks. As an ink blogger, I'm constantly using new inks. I mean, these are ones I haven't gotten to yet. So I think the key for me is knowing how the pen performs, because then I can tell you how the ink works, because I know what the pen's like. So it's a little bit different. It's harder for me to answer that than it would be somebody else who had, I don't know, maybe fewer pens inked at once. I've usually got a ton of pens inked. I've kind of knocked that down. I don't know, probably under 20 inked right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I don't know, maybe slightly over 20. But that's not bad for me. I've usually got like 30, definitely over 20, but less than 30, I think. But if I had fewer than that, it wouldn't be that big a deal to answer that question. All right, here's a question again from Chewbacca. How much time do you spend every day thinking about fountain pens versus sleeping, working, eating, etc.? And that's actually kind of a tough question. I don't have any idea. I don't think that it like interrupts my sleep or anything like that. But if I'm ever at my desk, I mean, looking around over here, I have a zillion pens and things. Or I'm thinking about like writing a review, or I'm actually writing some reviews. But I don't know. I mean, every time I'm writing something, I think about pens and ink. But it's not like I don't really dream about them much. I don't, it doesn't interrupt my life really. So I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know. A lot, but not all the time. Sometimes I'm just playing video games. All right, Ricky Rod asks, which would you choose, a Montblanc 146 or a Montblanc 149, and why? I don't know, man. I gave it some thought, and like the best answer I can give is probably a Montblanc 146. Just because I know that's the same size as the Sailor 1911 large, and I really like that size. But I don't have any Montblancs. I've never really used one. I don't like they don't really appeal to me. Maybe I need to use one because I didn't really care about the Aurora 88 until I used it. And now I'm like, oh, that's a darn good pen. I really like it. Maybe Montblancs would grow on me. I kind of hope not, because they're wicked expensive. But I don't know. I don't really care that much about Montblancs. Now, if somebody wants to send me Montblanc to like borrow and check out, I'll totally do it. And maybe it'll make a believer out of me. But until then, I'd rather have the Sailor, I think. All right, next. Written Rice, ink samples or ink bottles? Samples. I've got a lot of bottles sitting over here, but samples are better for me because I'm constantly doing new inks. And if I bought every ink that I review, it would cost $1 zillion. I can't do it. And also, if you get a bunch of, like, I don't know, I'd hate to buy a whole bottle of ink and then be stuck with, I don't know, 2 ounces of a thing I only wanted to use like 3 mils of. And so I usually get samples. Sometimes I've gotten multiple samples of the same ink if I really like it, and if I like an ink, I'll go and buy it. I've got several over here that I tried and liked so much I had to buy. So, that happens. But yeah, as far as samples versus bottles, samples. She also asks, if you could use only one pen and ink for the rest of your life, what would you choose and why? Man, ink, I don't know. I was thinking about pens, and actually I'm going to go with this one, which is still my favorite pen. My wife keeps asking me, what's your favorite pen? And it's this one that she happens to have gotten me. This is a franklin-christoph Panther 40. It's kind of a one-of-a-kind. I think there's one more of these out there in the wild, but this is the very first of the Panther 40s. It's years and years ago this came out, long before Audrey had anything to do with franklin-christoph. This is just like a prototype pen. And I love this pen. It's beautiful. It's super comfortable to use. I love the nib. It's got a Mike Masuyama broad stub on it. It's my favorite nib on my favorite pen, I think, and so probably this one. As for what ink, I don't know. I think right now it would be a Sailor ink. It would either be Rikucha, which is that cool like green brown one that looks like kind of like wet tea leaves, or Chushu, which is like a purpley gray that looks more or less black. I love both of those, and I use them constantly. So probably one of those, because they're cool enough that I'm not going to get bored with them. I haven't gotten bored with them yet, and I've been using them for quite a while, and that's different for me. So probably those. So probably my Panther and one of those 2 Sailors. That's my guess. Or franklin-christoph Sweet Maroon. Although I don't know if I could I don't think I could get away with using Sweet Maroon in every circumstance, and I feel like I could get away with those other 2. So I don't know, probably one of those other 2. Rescue Monkey asks, posted or unposted? That depends on the pen, man. But generally, I post a lot of stuff. If it's possible to post it, I probably post it, unless it makes it super long. So like a Faber-Castell Basic, I won't post because it becomes a conductor's baton. Oh, that could go into my most disappointing pen. I love that darn pen, but the stupid thing keeps breaking. So, while I love Faber-Castell, let me see if I have it here and can grab it. Yeah. It's this one, which is the Carbon Fiber Basic. I love this pen. However, I don't even have a nib in it right now because I'm so angry about it. But it's got, where's the crack? It's got a crack here at the top. You can barely see that split. And it's also got a crack here at the bottom. And I've had that section replaced, and it cracked again in both places. I think it might be endemic to the pen. Next time I see Faber-Castell at a show, I'm going to be like, hey, what's the deal, man? Because I love this pen otherwise. It's a great pen. It's got a good weight. It's got a good look. If you post it, it's way too long. But otherwise, it's a great pen. But man, the stupid thing keeps breaking. So while I love it, it goes on my disappointing pen list. All right. Chewbacca asks, do I bullet journal? Nope. Rescue Monkey asks, follow-up on the Baron Fig Mastermind, how have I included in my workflow? It is all over my workflow. My summer workflow is different from my general workflow just because I'm teaching 100% online classes during the summer and they're just starting, and so I'm getting them. I'm constantly like, I have things that I have to grade like every 4 days. I have modules I have to set up for the next semesters and all this sort of thing. So I end up with checklists and squiggles and I don't know, lists of to-dos and notes for videos. So the way I keep in touch with my online students is by making small videos that address like things going on in class and that sort of jazz. So I make notes on there. It's big enough where I can write pretty big if I want to. I can make boxes. There's room for sections. It's actually really good. Some people have said that I should try out the large-sized Rhodia pad, and I have one of those coming in the mail. So I'll be able to compare those two in a bit, and then I'll probably do a combo review on both of them. But man, that Mastermind replaces a lot of little bits of paper for me, and I dig it. If you're not familiar with the Mastermind, here's what it looks like. Looks like this. It is this size. Right there. This is $15 for 2 of these pads. You open it up, it's got a nice subtle dot pad in there. Probably can't even really see it too well. But these are great, and I've been using the heck out of it. It fits just right in my workflow. So how's it fit in? It's perfectly. I love it. $15 is not super expensive, but it's also not super cheap. This paper reminds me a lot of the Fabriano paper. I really like the Fabriano Echo Qua glue-bound books. I use those for class notes and stuff, and they're great. Robo Jim asks, what color in inks do I think is underrepresented? It's probably going to be inks I don't really like, actually. So like pinks and yellows, I think, are underrepresented. You have a lot of purples, you got a lot of browns, a lot of greens, a lot of reds, blues and blacks, of course, all over the place. But pinks and yellows you don't see too many of, and when you do, they're either really weak sauce and you have to use them for highlighters, or they're really good, and there are some really good pinks and yellows out there. I think the Montblanc pinks and yellows, pink ink and was it golden yellow, I think. Both those are perfectly usable and readable, and I like them a lot. There's a couple of others in the pink category. Yellow is kind of harder to do, although that Platinum Black series, the Iron Gall series, seems to have a few, so I'm going to use some of those. Renee Rice asks, what's the most underrated ink brand? So here's a couple. Lately I've been using a lot of Monteverde inks. Monteverde just released like a whole slew of inks, and they're quite good. I've been using several of them recently, and I like them a lot. I've had no problems with them in terms of flow. I've had no problems with them in terms of behavior. The colors are interesting and varied. There are like 3 blacks or something in the series, which is weird. I haven't gotten to those yet because, frankly, they don't seem crazy interesting to me. But I think overall Monteverde, and you never hear anything about them, I think Monteverde is underrepresented. Also, you don't really hear all that much about Diatramentis, and I remember liking those. Diamine you hear about some, but I think maybe more of that. Also, I really like Private Reserve inks. I know they got a lot of negative hype, but if you have been saying, I'm not going to try out Private Reserve, don't put them in maybe your most expensive pens if you're worried, but do get a couple of Private Reserve inks and give them a shot because they're interesting. They are generally heavily saturated, And so put them in a pen that has good flow. But also some of them are just standout greats. My favorite blue ink right now is, and has been for like, I don't know, the last 2 or 3 years, is Private Reserve American Blue. It is a fantastic blue ink, and I've had no problems with it at all. It was also the first ink brand that I really got into. Black Cherry and Blue Suede and Lake Placid Blue were like those are the only 3 inks I had for years, and I loved them. So I like them. I don't really get the negative hype. RoboJim asks, what's my favorite filling system? Cartridge converter. I know a lot of people really like piston fillers. I like piston fillers too. I've got, I don't know, 3 of them on my desk right now. Just as proof. 3? Maybe I have more. 4? At least 4. So I've got a wide variety of things, but cartridge converter I think is the best. It is a piston filler, it's just a little one that you can replace. But also you can use converters. You can eyedropper a lot of those pens. It makes it very, very flexible. Whereas if you have a piston fill pen, you have a piston fill pen, and that's all the things. If you have a pen that has a sack in it, like the Conklin crescent fillers and stuff, they're a little bit of a pain in the butt to clean. And I am constantly cleaning out pens. I just cleaned out like, I don't know, 20 pens this morning. I've still got like a bunch in the box that need to be cleaned out. So if you're constantly changing inks and that sort of thing, you're going to want a pen that's easy to change. And cartridge converter, easy. Easy and all kinds of flexible. I like it. All right, last one in the pen and ink category, and then we get to personal, and then we get to straight up silly. WF Cupcake Girl asks, any advice for newbies to get past the fear of next level pen purchases? For me, spending more than $100 on a pen still brings fear of, what if I don't like it? Yo, I get it. I get it real hard because I still pause if a pen is like 100 and something bucks. If a pen's under $100, I might just get it because under $100, I just kind of go, that's fine. But I remember a time when like $100 was crazy, and I would never spend $100 on a pen. Dude, I spend $100 on a pen now. I don't know, more than I'd like to admit. But my first kind of more expensive pen purchase was, I think it was a franklin-christoph 27, and I still have it. It's over there. It's too far away for me to reach at the moment. Still use it quite a lot. They don't make the 27 anymore. It's a cool pen, but I think it was like $70. Just up from that, or equal to that, I think the TWSBI 700 was about $75 when I got it. So I was a little bit of a nail biter at that point. I just gotten my first like adult job really, and I was, I had some money, but I wasn't really doing awesome. And so, that kind of money is like, ugh. So look, if a pen of, over $100 is giving you like anxiety about buying the thing, here's my advice about getting over that hump. Don't. Who cares, right? There's a lot of pens that are less expensive than that. Will you love a $150 pen more than you love a $70 pen? I don't know. Like, I've got plenty of pens that are under that price range that I still really like. And go up there on the list of my favorite pens sometimes. So look, if a pen has a price that is giving you anxiety about that, like, I can't spend it, you're not gonna feel good about using that pen either. So here's a way that I got over it, and that's just like, there were a couple of pens like, I don't know, they're kind of expensive, but maybe you pass up a deal like, I should have gotten that, and you like kick yourself like, I should have gotten it. That means probably you're going to enjoy the pen. You're like, okay, I paid a fair price for it, it's good. So here's how you get over that fear. Don't get over that fear unless you don't feel the fear anymore, I guess. Look, you don't have to buy expensive pens to be cool. It's just a fact about the world. So that's my advice. All right, personal questions. There's only like 3 or 4 of these. Chewbacca asks, Chewbacca's had a lot of questions in here. Good job, Chewbacca, throwing questions. In fact, these are actually just from Chewbacca and Justin C. So Chewbacca asks, am I a morning person or a night owl? Both. I get up early-ish. I mean, my wife leaves for work about 8-ish, and I usually get up then, unless I have a class to go to early in the morning, and then I get up whenever. But I don't sleep that much. I usually don't go to bed until about 2 most of the time, and I get up at 8, so that's like 6 hours-ish, and I'm perfectly fine on 6 hours. That's fine with me. Sometimes I might sleep in. Today I didn't get up until like 9:30. What? But I also went to bed at like 2:30 because I was playing Overwatch until the wee hours of the night. Overwatch anniversary. Yeah. I am My Darn Snake Legs on PS4. If you want to send me a friend request, we can play Overwatch together. Chewbacca also asks, caffeine beverage of choice, coffee. That's actually what's still in here. Delicious. It's from some Zimbabwe coffee from Target. It's fair trade and stuff. It's delicious. I've been using a pour over coffee maker a bit. I've had one since last Christmas, and I don't use it when I'm in a hurry because it frankly takes more time. But it does make delicious coffee. I've also gotten some Black Blood of the Earth from Punky, and still got a couple of those. I think they're still good. There's nothing growing in them. It's probably fine. The caffeine content in those things will kill whatever grows in it, or else it wins and it deserves to. Okay, so Chewbacca says, what's your favorite food? If you could eat it every single day, would you? My favorite foods are Mexican food of all kinds, specifically Tex-Mex if I can get it. It's hard to find around here, but I will eat it all the time if I can give the choice. Or pizza. I never say no to pizza. In fact, I told my wife if I ever say no to tacos or pizza, just take me to the ER because something is horribly wrong with me. I love them both. Would I eat them every day if I could? Yes. In fact, actually, that's why I'm kind of more this large, like roundish, like, I don't know, I'm very roundy. And the reason I'm roundy is because mostly of Mexican food. I worked at a Mexican food restaurant. It's a place called Papacitos. They have them all over Texas, if you're familiar with those. I worked there for years, and I was head trainer for at least 2 years. And so they feed you at the end of every shift. And so I was just eating basically nothing but Mexican food. I'd work like, I don't know, 8 or 12 hours in a row and just like eat all the Mexican food. And during the day, I'd be eating there were certain things you could have for free. So they let you have beans and rice and tortillas for free, pretty much as you wanted. And so the way you keep going is carbs. And so I would just like take tortillas and dip them in refried beans and just like eat one and then like run back to work. And so that's why I'm more or less round and not as, I don't know, skinny as I used to be. All right, so there's that. Justin C asks, who's your favorite childhood hero or superhero? I've always been a Marvel fan as far as comic book stuff goes. I do like comic books quite a bit. I'm got like a lot of nerd interests, I suppose. Kind of a nerd. Hell, I'm a philosophy professor. I'm kind of a professional nerd. Um, my favorite, I've always loved Spider-Man. Just always been a huge Spider-Man fan. So probably that's my favorite childhood hero or superhero. I know a lot of kids when I was in school were like all Wolverine all the time. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Wolverine's okay, but Spider-Man, that's where it's at. Spider-Man. Also asks, what's your order of choice from the Waffle House? I gotta admit, I've only been to the Waffle House like 3 or 4 times. And maybe 5, because I went a couple times in Atlanta when I was there for the pen show. But I have one right down the street, and I just never go. I don't know why. I just never really did. So I've been a couple of times when I was on road trips, like with my dad. We discovered the sausage biscuits are real good, and they're, I don't know, probably half as expensive as the McDonald's ones, and they're better. So we get those on road trips. They had this like, I forget, it was some kind of burger. I don't know, some kind of cheeseburger. It was really good there. I don't really have like a standard order because I've only been there like 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 5 times. So I don't have a standard order. I don't know. Sorry. I wish I had a cooler thing. I know their hash browns are pretty famous. I've only had the hash browns once and I forget how I ordered them. Smothered, covered, scrambled, and I don't know, something else. There's all kinds of code words. The waffles I didn't care for them. The omelet was junk. They put American cheese on an omelet. No. If your cheese has a Z in it, it ain't cheese. All right. Silly questions. Written in Rice says, what's the meaning of life, the universe, and everything? This is a little depressing, maybe, to some people, but I don't really think there is a meaning or a purpose that's external to whatever you bring to it. So, as far as I can tell, the meaning, like the thing to do in life is to make the world a little bit better where you can and when you can. So think about what you put out into the world and try to make it a better place. I listen to a lot of podcasts with this guy, Jeff Kanata, and that's the thing he says at the end. I'm always like, yes, that is exactly right, Jeff. That's why I like you, pal. Think about what you put in the world and and try to make it a better place. That's, I think, the meaning. But as far as like what are we here for? I don't know if we're here for anything. That doesn't bother me, but I know some people are like, oh no, that's very sad. It doesn't bother me. Rescue Monkey asks, compare and contrast Huxley's Brave New World with Orwell's 1984. Which one was more accurate? I don't know, man. I only read, actually, A Brave New World about, well, dang, I guess it was like 10 years ago now, and I haven't really read it since. I know that's supposed to be dystopian, but I always thought A Brave New World was kind of charming, in the sense that, yeah, these people are all like altered. Hey, spoilers for Brave New World. If you haven't seen Brave New World, like, speed up a little bit. but everybody's sort of like genetically engineered to be good at the job and to enjoy the job that they're good at. And that's kind of great. I mean, if you're enjoying the thing that you're good at and you're good at the thing you enjoy, what else do you want, man? I mean, would you rather like love doing a thing you were terrible at, or be terrible at doing a thing you love? I don't even know. So in Brave New World, they're sort of like genetically engineered to be certain ways, and there's some people who are supposed to be like lifting heavy things, and other people who are supposed to be doing all the thinking, and some people in the middle, and I don't know. That's how, as far as I remember it. And it seemed, and then at the end of the day, people like stop their job and go and I don't know, do soma and like get high. I don't know. It doesn't seem awful in some cases. I don't know. It seems fine. Which one's more accurate? I don't know. I don't know. That one depresses me. The thing about purpose in life, that doesn't depress me. With this one, I don't know, it depresses me. Probably a combination of both. Because they're being, I think in 1984, people didn't like. I think that a lot of people knew that they were being tricked and used and mistreated, and I think in Brave New World, a lot of people didn't know. So I don't know which one's better. That's a value call. WTF, why not, says, would you rather fight a horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? One horse-sized duck, obviously, because look, you're not gonna do well fighting 100 of many things, and a duck is still a fairly large bird, all things to told. So like 100 horses this big, that fill this room. I don't want to fight that. But one horse-sized duck. Look, ducks have hollow bones. They're mostly feathers. And they don't really have any offensive powers. I mean, they got like that bill that can go like this. But they don't have teeth. You ain't got teeth. You're just going like this. Oh, noes. Horses, they have teeth, man. You ever been bit by a horse? I was bit by a horse. I was feeding it an oat. I'm like, hey, horse, want an oat? And it's like, I'm like, would you like an oat? It's like, chomp, and like bit me in my chest when I was a child. Like just chomp. It was terrible. It hurt so bad. Like lots of teeth. They have big teeth like this. Ducks, no teeth. No claws, nothing. I don't care about a duck. Bring it, horse-sized duck with your hollow bones. I'll take that sucker right out. Chewbacca asks, how many times do you have to wash your hands after using a ballpoint pen? None. I don't mind ballpoint pens. I've got a few ballpoint pens. Actually, here are two right here. I've got a Pilot Acro Ball, and I've got this new cool Retro 51, which has got like these tattoo-style owls on there. I'm really into that. These are both ballpoints. I know this comes as a roller ball. I don't like roller balls. Roller balls, I don't like them. Never have. But ballpoints, I'm fine with ballpoints. Like them just fine. No, don't have to wash my hands unless they're dirty pens, in which case, gross. Robo Jim says, do I have a shrubbery? Yes, many shrubberies. Chewbacca asks, have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? That sounds like drugs. I don't really do drugs. So, nah, I guess. Written in Rice asks, I want you to cut down the mightiest tree in the forest with a herring. No, that's a waste of both a beautiful tree and a fish. Clipboy says, if a forest with nobody around, was there a sound? There's got to be that like tree falls in the forest thing, and yes, obviously, the existence of pressure waves is not dependent upon an experiencer. So yes, of course there is. Clipboy also asks, what's the MPG with Lammy Petrol? And I was like, well, that's a stupid question. Nobody would do that. And I was like, well, I don't know. Why wouldn't I do it? One reason I wouldn't do it is wreck my engine. Or it just wouldn't work, probably. It's mostly water. But the second thing is that it would be prohibitively expensive. I drive a truck. It's got a pretty good gas mileage. It gets like, I don't know, 27 miles per gallon, give or take. But I figured out that Lammy Petrol, which comes in a box like this, and looks like, since I have some here, I'll show you. Oops. Looks like this right here. It's very cool. This is Sailor Mirai down here. They're pretty close, but not exactly the same. Anyway, Lammy Petrol is about $11 a bottle, give or take. They are 50 ml bottles. I figured out that would cost $832.78 per gallon. So that is prohibitively expensive. But however, if I make a Patreon goal like that, look, if y'all want me to do that, I'm not going to do it. That would have to be a Patreon goal that was real high. Let's see. And lastly, do you expect this thread to go off the rails? I did expect the thread to go off the rails a little bit, and I was rewarded with that being true. So I like being right. Hooray. Whew. Okay, so that's all the cues that needed to be A'd. If you have other cues that you want A'd, put them down below in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit that bell thing, I guess. I don't know what that does, but hit that. Do all the regular YouTube stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out. Word. I don't know, other gangsta stuff, I guess. Bye. Okay, let's get this sucker rolling.